get caught up in the mix, cause the media is full of dirty tricks. Only God can judge me. Yeah, baby. Only God can judge me. Only God can judge me.
Hello, hello. I'm Katie, and this is a very unique bonus episode of Retromade. Today, we're going to find out what happens when one of America's best sports biographers turns his lens on one of hip-hop's most misunderstood legends. My guest today is Jeff Pearlman, the New York Times bestselling author of Boys Will Be Boys, Game of Shadows, Gunslinger, and about a dozen others. So he knows a thing or two about larger-than-life figures. And now, Only God Can Judge Me, The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me.
I just want to say, people, whenever they introduce me, give me all kind of accolades I don't deserve. They'll say, he's the author of 20 bestsellers. I do want to say, I did not actually write Game of Shadows. I wrote the Barry Bonds book that nobody bought that came out 3 weeks after Game of Shadows. So Game of Shadows came out. That was a #1 New York Times bestseller, deservedly so. My Barry Bonds book was bought by 12 people, not including my mom, who didn't buy it.
I doubt that very much, but thank you for the clarification.
Sure, yours.
I mean, this is so close to my heart. The listeners know, and I am wearing my Tupac shirt. He's my favorite musician of all time. So much happened in just a few years. Remember, folks, Tupac was only 25 when he was killed, and it all happened so fast. And believe it or not, there's an entire book's worth of Tupac's story that we actually haven't heard yet. Enter Jeff's book. So, Jeff, Retromade is a movie podcast. We usually go back to the 80s or 90s. So before we get into the meat of your book, do you have a favorite movie from the 80s or 90s?
My favorite movie of all time is The Cable Guy.
Is it really?
I love The Cable Guy. I love every moment in The Cable Guy. I love everything about The Cable Guy. I believe that was a 90s movie. That was like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I don't even think Ben Stiller really likes The Cable Guy. And I'm guessing Jim Carrey doesn't really like The Cable Guy. I, however, think The Cable Guy, soup to nuts, is one of the funniest movies ever. I'm
going to have to give it a rewatch because I don't recall much from it.
There's like 5 of us in the world who think The Cable Guy is the greatest movie of all time. There's
okay.
6 of us, but most
that's fair.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie from the 80s and 90s?
Ooh, from the 80s or 90s. That's tough. Maybe Breakfast Club. But my favorite movie of all time is Rocky.
Okay.
But that's from the 70s.
I'm going to be very controversial with you. I think Creed is a better movie than Rocky. Don't hate me. I think Creed is so good, and the fighting is so much better. The boxing scenes are so much better in Creed. Just saying.
Well, I mean, you're the 70s versus the 2000
sure. Modern times.
But I hear you. I full on disagree, but I hear you.
It's a great movie, obviously. I respect Rocky. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie, or what do you think is the best movie that's based on a musician or a musical or something to do with music?
Oh, that's it. It's so funny. I just had lunch yesterday with this woman, Franny Goldie, who's an all-time great songwriter. She wrote like Night Shift, and she wrote Dreaming for Selena, and she wrote a million songs that you would know. And we were literally talking about this, how I think like lately, I don't really love the biopics about, like I haven't been that into the Bob Dylan one my wife loved. I was like, yeah, if I had to pick one, maybe the Buddy Holly story, or maybe Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross.
I have not seen that.
Oh, it's really good.
Okay. I'll add it to the list.
Good. About Billie Holiday. Why? What's yours?
I don't know. I'm not super into musicals or movies about music, but La Bamba comes to mind because I remember loving that. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see All Eyes on Me, the Tupac movie?
I actually don't think I have. For some reason, I was like not in the mood for it. And I don't know. Does it?
It's
okay.
Terrible. Yeah. So.
All right. What about sports? Since you're a sports writer,
favorite sports movie?
Yeah.
League of Their Own, without question. I love A League of Their Own.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah, nobody ever answered that. That and Creed are my 2 favorite sports movies of all time. They're probably tied as 2 of my favorite movies of all time. So.
Okay. I love it. And I know this.
I guess Rocky is your favorite.
Yeah.
Rocky.
Yeah. I do really like The Program. I don't know. You remember that movie from the 90s? Of
course.
I just grew up at that. Anyway, this might be an unfair question, but do you have a favorite Tupac song?
Sure. I mean, so how well versed on a scale of 1 to 10 are you on Tupac, would you say? You are wearing this shirt.
8, maybe.
Okay. There's a song on All Eyes on Me called Shorty Wanna Be a Thug.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh,
I love
great.
it.
I think there's a separation line between people who know Tupac reasonably well to very well and people who don't know Tupac that well. And I think it's Shorty Wanna Be a Thug. I think if you know Tupac fairly well to reasonably well to very well, you know that song. I think if you're a casual listener, you don't.
Right.
I just think the song is great storytelling. It's him kind of at his best, great production value, on and on and on. So I do love that song.
That
What
is
is
a good
yours?
one. It's really hard for me. I think I vacillate, but I think I'm going to go with either Hail Mary or Only God Can Judge Me.
I mean, that's the name of my book.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great song. The one thing I'll say about Only God Can Judge Me, which I probably listened to 1,000 times by now, the more I listen to Tupac, the less I like features on his albums because I think he's so much better than the rap. So like Rappin' Forte has a feature on it. It's totally fine. But I always kind of want to get past it. I know that's
Yeah.
not weird. I always kind
Okay.
of but that is a great song. Only God Can Judge. I also I Ain't Mad at You, obviously, is a
Oh,
great.
that's up there. Definitely.
There are a lot of yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I mean, his body of work, it's one reason that he's my favorite. But to get into the book, I just felt like there was so much that I didn't know that I didn't know. From his name, how that came about, to his thoughts about his first few albums, the actual events of the 94 shooting in New York, to his appearance transformation and the extent of his mother's struggles and their poverty, and on and on and on and on. There's just so much that your book, I mean, people, if you thought you knew everything about Tupac, you don't. Let's not forget the origins of Brenda's Got a Baby and the aftermath of that 30 years later. I mean, this is what movies are made of. So,
Thank you.
Jeff, I mean, how did you writing on everything from like Roger Clemens to the Lakers dynasty? What made you decide to step into Tupac territory?
So it had been in my head for a long time because I was waiting for a really great Tupac biography. There's this line that people say in writing, especially with books, where it's like, write the book that you'd want to read, right? Write the book that you'd want to read. And I read a bunch of Tupac books, and you will not hear me savaging other books. Like, I think there have been many quality books that have done what they set out to do. Jasmine Guy, the actress, did an amazing book about Tupac's mother. It was wonderful, right? Stacey Rodman from The Estate wrote a book 2 years ago from the Shakur Estate. And it's a very solid estate book. It did what an estate book is supposed to do. I just hadn't read the book I wanted to write, which is 600 interviews and a deep dive and really trying to clear some things up. And there's no agenda. Like, the only agenda is to write a great book or try to write a great book. And I don't know, I've written 10 sports books. It's kind of cool to try something different in life, do something that break outside your box a little bit. And so I'm a big fan of Tupac's music, fascinated by his mystique. Just figured I'd give it a shot. And here I sit.
Boy, I'm glad you did. I'm so glad you did. You guys heard him right. He said over 600, not 60, 600 people. I mean, that's wild. What was that like? What's the weirdest encounter you had?
I mean, I just want to say, first of all, like I always say this, for any like young writers or aspiring writers, especially biography or journalism, people always be like, whoa, 600 people. It's actually, the funny thing about it is it's not a talent. It's just doggedness, right? Like, there are always better writers. They're always better this, better that, but you can control how hard you work. And I kind of realized early on writing books, like, the one thing I could do is I can just make the call and make another call, make another call, make another call. So you pick up the old high school yearbooks and you make the call. You know, you go person by person in the yearbook and you call everyone in the yearbook, or you find the liner notes for old albums and you call everyone. You don't just try to talk to Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Suge Knight. You talk to the people who are in the room, the sound engineers and the grips and the different people like that. So that for me was big. I'd say I had a lot of best finds for this book, but I would say one that really stands out is he had a high school girlfriend named Mary, and this is in Baltimore. And people told me she doesn't talk. She won't talk. Yeah, and Mary is the one. She lives in Nebraska now. She said if I came out, she would show me her mom had recently found under her bed about 150 letters that Tupac had written her in high school that she'd never shown anyone. So just going out and seeing those letters was, for me, amazing. And that's making the extra call, calling the girlfriend, calling her again, hope she'll talk. Like, those kind of things pay off.
What a claim to fame, too. That really stuck out to me when I was reading that, because I'm from Nebraska. And just to be Tupac's early girlfriend, I mean, that's just wild. So I loved reading about that part.
Listen, I don't want to dog your state, but I did have the worst bagel I've ever had in Nebraska.
Oh, I left for a reason, Jeff.
Bagels? Did you leave because of the bagels?
No. I'm not a big fan of Nebraska. Sorry,
right.
people who live there. You're fine dogging the state.
I was just dogging the bagels. The bagels I had in Nebraska. I had a bagel at a bagel shop, and they microwave the frozen bagel before they serve it to you. So the bagel is like a sponge. You can't do that, especially to a Jewish guy from New
I
York.
was just going to say, you're from New York. You can't,
I'm Jewish. Come on.
you can't F it up like
Know your
that.
crowd. Yeah.
Good point.
Thank you.
Kind of starting from top to bottom with the book, Afeni's story, it just felt really cinematic.
Mhm.
You know, it shows her contradictions so vividly. You don't sugarcoat it at all. Do you feel like that there's a version of Tupac that would have or could have existed if she had been a little more stable? Or would that have killed some of his genius? You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting. I think there's this real sliding door moment for Tupac when he moves from Baltimore and he moves to Marin City. And at the time, he's at the Baltimore School for the Arts. And even though he has this traumatic home life with a mom who's an addict and he's living in poverty and there's no heat, there's no air conditioning, East Baltimore, rats running up and down the floorboards, like really bad. Every day he goes to the school and he's like this butterfly, you know, like he's absorbing the artistry of it all. He is the artistry of it all, right? And I always think, like, more than anything, this is kind of an answer to your question, not answer to your question. Not that I'm dodging it. I just think there's this alternate they don't move to Marin City. Tupac stays in Baltimore. He's a senior at Baltimore. He is applying to art schools, colleges for theater or for music or whatever. And he goes and he just absorbs it and he becomes something. I don't know what, but he becomes something. And I do think it was when his mom moved to Marin and his mom became hardcore into crack and he left home and he was out on his own and he was sort of embraced by fellow aspiring hip hop artists and also by kind of the streets where everything kind of changed for him. So I think his mom's I think the idea of having your hero, you know, like his mom was his absolute hero, Black Panther legend. Having your hero become a crack addict and having this all happen before you in your teenage years is something that's very hard to overcome or at least emerge unscathed from.
Definitely. Again, you guys, there's just more. If you think you know, you don't. Your book is it's a very elevated storytelling, the way that you tell the story as well.
It was hard. This is the hardest book I've ever worked on. I'm not joking.
Really?
So my 11th book. It was insanely hard. It was insanely challenging. There's a landscape I'm unfamiliar with. I'm a white sports writer entering the world of hip hop. It is not comfortable, you know, like understandably it wouldn't be, but it wasn't. It was very, very hard. There are a lot of barriers you have to go through just to get people to trust you and open up. And you also have to be open to your own prejudice, misconceptions, misunderstandings, not just of hip hop culture, Black culture, what it is to be Black in America, the trauma that young Black people face in America, like all these things you think you know. Like I was a kid who was a history major in college. I've covered Black athletes for years. Like you think you know, but then you go to the next depths and you're like, oh yeah, I don't really know it all. And what you have to be, and what I tried to be, is very open-minded and understanding that people are going to tell you things that you have to try to grasp, even though they are not part of your own life journey.
Mm-hmm. The Baltimore School of Arts, I've always heard about that, you know, that part of his life. But that chapter, again, there's just so much there that I had no idea, but it felt sort of like Fame meets The Wire in the way that you story tell.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So what stood out to you about young Tupac as a performer versus the myth that we all knew?
I mean, he shows up at the Baltimore School for the Arts. And it's funny because a lot of people reacted very negatively to this. And it actually back a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a kid. Again, like he's kind of like a butterfly. He's super flamboyant. He's wearing nail polish. He's drinking water out of a baby bottle as he walks through the hallways. He's spray painting on his jeans. One of his best friends is the gay kid, Seth. He's just like this artistic soul. And anyone who's ever spent time in a school for the arts, like that's what it is. Like that's what it is. It's this merging of people. And you have people painting their hair purple and people shaving mohawks in their hair and people walking around in suit jackets and other people walking around in Jets jerseys and this whole merging of it all. And he was just an enormous part of it. Like he dove in, like he was all about it. And as a performer, I mean, he was as much to listening to Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel as he was LL Cool J and Run DMC. Like he was very, very influenced by all genres of music. And he just was like this. Again, he was like Someone described him in the book to me. The best description I heard for that period was he was the kind of kid who gently set aside a ladybug. And I just thought, oh, that's so beautiful. That's awesome.
That endeared me even more to him.
Great quote.
I'm vegan and everything, like the whole nine.
I'm not saying Tupac didn't enjoy a hamburger.
I know that. I know, but just that he cared. He's a sensitive soul as well. And all beings, value their life. And now he's starting to get into the digital underground with Shock G. I think a lot of fans kind of forget that he was a roadie, and where in that era do you feel like when you were talking to people, do you see flashes of the Tupac Shakur forming where you went, oh, there he is? Or was there a moment like that?
Yeah. I mean, one example I would say is he was in the movie Nothing But Trouble, a Dan Aykroyd movie.
That's right. That's right.
Have you seen that movie?
I have, but I don't recall anything from it because I think I saw it once like 30 years ago.
It's on YouTube for free. It's maybe the worst movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
it's preposterously bad. But Tupac is in this movie, and he basically, the group Digital Underground, which Tupac was a roadie but also a performer in, was asked to write a song called Same Song for the movie.
That's right.
And they got a cameo in the movie performing the song. And Tupac is in the movie, and he's just like, at the time, he's like 19 years old. He's a non-essential member of this troupe. But according to people at Digital Underground, he's like constantly badgering like Dan Aykroyd, who wasn't just the star of the movie, but the writer of the movie. Can you get me lines? Can you get me lines? Get me in, get me in, get me in. And that really was like Tupac later on too. Like he was always in a rush and he was always pushing forward and he had very little patience. His career had to happen now. It couldn't happen in a weekend. He wasn't intimidated at all, like at all. He thought he should have a speaking line in this movie. So he's going to get a speaking line in this movie. Now he didn't get it, but he's thinking about it. So I think like on the set of that brutally bad movie was a view of Tupac. I also think he joins Digital Underground on a tour. It's the Big Daddy Kane tour. And up until this point, Tupac, like not that much success with the women, like kind of a scrawny guy, bad teeth, bad clothes, duck feet, like not that much going on. Jumps on the Big Daddy Kane tour, touring with Digital Underground, touring with like Third Base and, Queen Latifah and all these groups. And all of a sudden the women are around. And all of a sudden these sort of Tupac, who people might know as kind of the, Lothario of hip hop, that developed at that point, because all of a sudden he had people interested in him because he was Digital Underground, so everything changed in that tour. It's kind of funny.
That's fascinating. It was wild for me reading that because I had his posters, I still have them. He was super attractive. I find him extremely attractive. So I was like, wow, he wasn't always that way.
Not at all.
Yeah. So he goes to jail and he's writing letters to fans. He's reading Machiavelli. He's plotting his comeback and, bringing it back to movie terms. It's like a Rocky IV meets The Art of War, seemingly. And so how self-aware do you think he was about constructing the Tupac, the legend, while he was incarcerated?
I would not say he was necessarily trying to create this sort of mojo persona. What I think he was doing when he was in prison at Clinton was he was just the way you feel. See, how do you fill time in prison? Like, what do you do? And one of the things you can do is write. And he loved writing anyway. So he was writing screenplays. He was writing poems. He was writing songs. He was writing an endless buffet of letters to women, like an endless buffet of letters to women. He just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And he had plans. I'm going to make this movie about this. I'm going to make this movie about that. I'm going to come out, have all these songs ready to go. It wasn't about creating like a persona. It was just like, and it wasn't even busy work per se. It was just almost like preparing for his return and what he was going to have to offer and what he was going to do. And again, he was not a patient person. So the idea that he would be like, yeah, I'm just going to get out and I'll bide my time. I'm going to rest at home and then I'm going to get a bicycle and I'm going to ride around. And that wasn't him. It was, his first day out, he literally gets out of Clinton, flies to LA, goes to a steakhouse, has a steak, goes to Can-Am Studios, records 7 songs in his first day. Like 7 songs, bouncing back and forth between the 2 recording booths. Like that was him. It was like rush, 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 rush. Everything I need to do right now. And a lot of people sort of point to Tupac growing up where he grew up, young black man in America, basically feeling like you may not have time to do a lot. Like you kind of have to do this stuff now because if you make it past 20, you've lived a sizable life. So it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was ever present throughout the book. His sense of urgency. And I guess I couldn't really relate. There was something like he always felt, even before he was known as a gangster rapper, you had mentioned like he felt like he was going to die young.
Correct. The guy I compare him to, I've said that, I don't know if I use this in the book actually, but I think about it a lot, is Mickey Mantle. So Mickey Mantle, the legendary Yankee, how big of a sports fan are you?
Not. I mean, I know who Mickey Mantle is.
Oh, you know Mickey,
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle, legendary Yankee. And Mickey Mantle, his dad died young, his grandfather died young. And Mickey Mantle always just assumed by whatever, 30, 35, he would be gone. So what did he do? He lived this hard charging life. He drank a lot. He womanized a lot. He played baseball as hard as he could, and it really it was almost like the acknowledgement that I'm not going to be around long. So I better pack as much as I can into these years. And I always think like Mickey Mantle, Tupac in that way are very, very similar. I think Tupac was the same way. I'm not going to be around that long. So I got to pack as much as I can into years. And Mickey Mantle lived into his 60s. So he misfired on that one, but Tupac 25. So he did not.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. I have to, this was tough. So the sexual assault allegations. I was nervous getting to this part in the book for obvious reasons, since I'm such a huge fan. How did your perspective on what happened change in doing your research, or did it?
So first of all, I do want to say, I've said this in other places, like people will say like, oh, this guy, he's just trying to sell books. Like he's just trying to sell books. Is this a guy trying to sell books? And this does not, and I knew from the beginning, this does not help me sell books. If anything, like not all quote unquote controversy helps you sell books. A lot of times it actually hurts you because people are mad at you. And instead of selling it, they tell everyone, don't buy this guy's book. Especially in the case, again, being a white outsider author writing a biography of not just a hip hop icon, but a sort of Black American cultural icon. There's this like, who the hell is this guy to write this, right? Okay. For me, I felt like there was no choice. This is a roundabout answer to your question. Like when he goes to prison for sexual battery and the whole Ayanna Jackson situation, and then you find out that 4 months earlier, he was accused by another woman of very similar deeds involving kind of his friends, just like the other one did. And you interview the woman who was involved, which I did. You verify the police report, which I did. You reach out to another person who was there with Tupac who didn't respond, but I did reach out. I don't know journalistically how you don't write about that, especially because he went to prison for that very reason. So if you find out there's a potential pattern, and it, allegedly someone accused of happening before. And I spoke to this woman at length, and I always say like, this woman had zero to gain from talking to me, literally zero. She's in her 50s. She doesn't live in California anymore. She's not using her name. There's no benefit. But she read the police report recently and was furious by it because the reason her case wasn't pursued, and this is stated in the police report, is because the detective said that she had a chance to run away and didn't take it, right? And that was the reason.
And the 90s.
Oh, the 90s. I mean, stuff probably still happens today. Beyond it does.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's not funny at all, but I think like people are so, again, I never in the book say that Tupac did it or not. I talk about the accusation. And it's not like I'm trying to imply he did it. He was accused. I'm talking about the accusation. People are so anxious to defend their hero, which I understand. But the idea that like a case isn't pursued because the woman had an opportunity to run and didn't is a little not cool, to say the least. So how did it change my perception of Tupac? I can't say positively. Like I certainly don't think the woman is lying. I mean, maybe if Tupac were alive, maybe he'd say, look, who knows I don't know what he would say. I just don't know as a journalist honest to God, I don't know as a journalist what you're supposed to do. I just don't. I don't know what you're supposed to do. So I tried my best.
That's
how did it change how did you take it?
Yeah, it was disheartening. I mean, obviously, don't meet your heroes kind of a thing. Evidence and facts are facts. And you laid things out. And this whole time, I do have him on a pedestal, or I did have him on a pedestal. And if anything, it's like, he was so young. There are a lot of I'm not trying to explain anything away. I forget sometimes how, like, he's 25, like his brain was not even fully developed. and I have him on a pedestal. Like he's not even an adult. So that's like unfair to put on him. But I will say disappointing
It's,
is an understatement.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you think about it, right? It's, like promoting the book. I'm basically done promoting the book. So I'm actually find myself more open than I was when I was like, kind of
Oh,
like,
good.
yeah. And I'm being sincere about this. People are complicated. People are very, very, very complicated, and human actions are very complicated. I mean, I wrote a book about the Shaq Kobe Lakers, and Kobe Bryant was accused
Yep.
sexually assaulting a woman in Eagle, Colorado. And people show up for his trial and they're wearing Kobe Bryant jerseys and they're saying Kobe would never do this. I know Kobe would never do this. Well, how do you know? Because he's my favorite basketball player and blah, 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 blah. And like, it's really awkward to say about a sexual assault case that he can still be like, it's a weird thing to say, suggest, but he can still be a good person, or maybe he learned from it, or maybe he didn't understand, or blank. As I get older and as I write about more people, I just sort of allow that people are complicated and people are complex. And like you said, he was a very young man raised in very traumatic circumstances who was flawed.
Definitely. That's very well said.
It is what it is. What can you do?
Yeah.
But I was very committed to not writing. It's not my job to write the Tupac fan book. It's just not. It's my job to write the biography of Tupac and have a full picture of him. And if that's not for you, if that's not your taste, that is totally fine. You don't have to read it. You can love Tupac and not know about it. It's totally fine. I don't even mean that sarcastically. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with just loving your heroes, enjoying their music, thinking the best of them. And that's it. That's totally fine. It's not, biographies aren't for everybody,
Mm-hmm. I mean, in a similar vein, some of the chapters, for example, Prison Changes Everybody, aka Don't Fumble My Hose. I love your titles too.
I would love a t-shirt that says Don't Fumble My Hose, but
Oh, that was great. But some of these chapters are both hilarious and horrifying kind of at the same time. And you balance that expertly. Ever the two-sided coin, again, this mythical figure. Were you surprised learning more about, I guess I'm assuming you didn't know a lot of these things, more about like the complexities of his real life versus his outward lyrics and actions regarding women?
oh, the whole woman thing is so complicated, right?
Yeah.
It really is complicated. And it's like, I mean, it's the age-old Tupac question. How can a guy write Dear Mama and keep your head up and then write You Wonder Why? Even though You Wonder Why is kind of it's not like what people think, but still, yeah, it's frustrating. And in a way, I think one of the hardest parts about writing about Tupac, and I don't really know if I got it right or not, to be honest with you, is like, there's a lot of, he loves women. He's not that great with women. He loves women. He's not that great with women. He loves women. He's not that great with women, right? There's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a little yo-yo-ish. Like, it's a little bit like, oh, he's here now and he's here now and he's here now and he's here now. And like, you find the rape accusation, but blank, but he's great to his mom. He's supporting his mom. Or you find this, but he's great. It's just really hard. It's really hard. He was a impulsive, hard to grasp often young man. It was just really hard to write about. This is really hard to write about. He was the hardest guy I've ever had to write about. It is he's just hard. And the thing is about biography that I always say to people that is 100% true, and especially in this case, you cannot be in somebody's head. In fact, one of the greatest, if you want to know when a biography is poorly done, and I probably did this early in my career, so you can read some of my old books and be like, no, that's garbage. When someone tells you what someone was thinking in a moment, right? You don't know. I don't know. For all I know, Tupac was in the room with Ayanna Jackson and thinking about whether the Yankees were going to make a trade for a reliever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what people are thinking. It's it's the biggest flaw of biography. You can't possibly know. So you do your best with the information at hand. You do your best with documenting it and witnesses and all that stuff. But I can't tell you what was in Tupac's head. So at the end of the day, for all I know, he was thinking about how his favorite flavor of ice cream. Wow, he was writing Dear Mama. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And so now my next question is going to seem unfair.
All right.
I was curious, if you felt like you learned anything, if anything, about his inner voice that doesn't come through in his lyrics.
Um, that's interesting. I mean, one thing that's actually really interesting about him, and I had this talk with a guy who grew up with him named Ray Love, who's a rapper,
Mm.
is Tupac was in an age when it was like bad in hip hop, decidedly not homophobic. Like if you listen to his lyrics, every now and then
Yeah.
he called Dr. Dre gay ass Dre, and he had another, but not a ton of homophobia. And Ray Love told me like both those guys grew up with a lot of friends and people in their lives who were gay, and it wasn't a thing that he carried with him, which I thought was interesting. The other is like when he was at Death Row, and you listen to those albums, especially All Eyes on Me. Yes, it is a Death Row album, and yes, there's a lot of passion in it. And yes, there's definitely some sort of the anger he built up in prison toward Biggie and Puffy and all those guys. But I think what isn't fully captured, or maybe he just didn't let people know, is like he's going home at night and he can't sleep. He's having nightmares of poverty, of prison. He's waking up, he's smoking a Newport on his little balcony, stubbing it out, taking another Newport, stubbing it out, like tortured. I know he did talk about sort of inner turmoil, but I wonder if people really realized how just overwhelmingly tortured he was. And also his sort of beginning to realize that he didn't have any money. Now, he wasn't getting money for all this stuff, and like Death Row was getting him stuff. There's this car, we're leasing this car. Here's his apartment, we're leasing his apartment. This guy didn't have any money. And I think that wasn't portrayed, but I think it was very real.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was heartbreaking to come to that realization that so many people in his orbit seemed to be using him. There was one person throughout the book that I felt like kind of was a through point.
Is that Yasmin?
Yeah, she seemed to,
I love Yasmin.
yeah.
There are a couple, what's interesting? The people in his life who were the best were women. And I'm not talking about like groupies or whatever, but I'm talking about like people like Yasmin Fula, people like Layla Steinberg, in a way, people like his mom, even though she had her ups and downs. Like there were these women who were kind of guideposts for him. Yasmin in particular was just a freaking rock of a human being. Her son was an outlaw who died way too young. And she really did a good job with me sort of explaining this whole, as she would say, very hyper specifically, like Black trauma, what it is to be Black, what it is to be young Black. And she just kind of reinforces for me. And we met multiple times, had endless conversations, became what I felt like a really good friend, actually. Oh. And I felt like she really had his best interest at heart. And I felt like Layla Steinberg had his best interest at heart. The truth of the matter is there weren't that many people who had his best interest at heart.
Yeah, that was sad. But I'm glad that Yasmin seemed to be that rock.
One thing about Yasmin that was interesting, and I think also just the various Panther survivors I talked to, they all like radiate, and Set, his sister, like they radiate this like really intense level of not just hyper focus, but the hardship of life. Like they kind of radiate it, and you kind of sit down with them and you feel it. You can't feel it, meaning I didn't go through it, but you feel what they're carrying with them, And I think for me, it was really unique. I'd never met that many people with that much trauma. And Layla Steinberg said to me early on, she's like, when I started working on this book and I reached out to her, she's like, just so you know, nobody leaves this unscathed. Nobody leaves the Tupac brand unscathed. I think that's 100,000,000% correct. I think nobody, terrain filled with landmines,
Indeed. One of the other things that was a little eye-opening to me, at least, was learning some of the truths about Dear Mama, which is a precious, sacred song to so many people. Was that hard to write, knowing that, or?
I mean, I just think once you learn about his relationship with his mother, it's not that hard to understand what he was getting across in that song.
Right.
He loved his mom desperately. His mom was his hero and his role model. It was a song for her. But as Yasmin was the first one to point out to me, like there is a lot of aspiration in that song. The mom I want to have, not the mom I necessarily do have. And I don't think that changes, to be honest, I don't think that changes the beauty of the song. I think it's a beautiful.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I was just like, oh, wow, you framed it very well, the aspirational aspect of it. It just makes me have so much empathy for Tupac. Like, this man, this boy,
It's sad.
yeah.
It's just sad. The story's sad. Everyone I showed the book to early on before it came out, I have a bunch of people I'm friends with who are hip hop writers or people who run hip hop websites, etc. That the thing that always came back was just like, that was a sad story. That is not as much sadder than I thought it would be. And again, it's not the best advertisement to sell a book, right? Come read the saddest Tupac story you'll ever read. But it is what it is. I'm not.
Some of the best stories are sad. Some of the best movies are sad.
Yeah.
It has no impact on the quality.
Sure.
Yeah.
But also like it's the story. Like I learned very early on, well, I used to be a writer at Sports Illustrated, and I used to go into articles with a preconceived notion of what I'm writing about, right? Oh, this guy is the star third baseman for the Kansas City Royals, and he's devoutly Christian, and he loves his kids. All right, that's the story I'm going to write. But as you do this longer, you realize, well, he also, I don't know, robbed a bank when he was 7 or whatever. You learn things as you go along, and the key to me is to keep a very open mind. So I didn't know what I was getting into with Tupac. It wound up being a profoundly sad book. It is what it is. Like, I got to tell the story I find,
Getting to the point towards the end of his life, I had kind of, I don't know, forgotten's not the right word, but Kidada Jones, and listeners, this is Quincy Jones's daughter,
Right.
and Rashida, the actress's sister, was engaged to Tupac, at the time of his death. And I feel like I don't hear anything about, I don't know, is it intentional that I don't hear anything from her about that time of her life?
I think it was a very traumatic period in her life.
Yeah.
I just assume that's why. She didn't actually talk to me, but I got lucky because, small things happen. I have a really good friend who's a writer named CJ Farley, and he was writing for Time Magazine at the time of Tupac's death. And he interviewed her and found these tapes that I think he never used of interviews with her. So I actually he gave me access to her interviews with him after she died. And she was a very young woman who was very traumatized by this.
Mm-hmm.
I think, his wife, Keisha Mars, who he married to early on, you don't hear from her very often either.
True.
Who wants to tell that story over and over again? Unless you're trying to make a buck off it, which I don't think either of them, well, clearly neither of them are. Why do you move on? You probably have kids and you have husbands and you do whatever and you get a job and who wants to live in their trauma forever?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The closing, how you kind of close the book, and I won't give it away, but just
if you want. Okay.
His lonely grave in North Carolina, it had me feeling all the feels, all the emotions, and I can't even really articulate it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, after all your travels, meeting all these people, where do you feel like you felt Tupac the most?
I think for me, the Tupac who really resonated was Baltimore School for the Arts and then his senior of high school at TAM in Northern California. My son said that those are my favorite chapters. My daughter said those are my favorite chapters. And I totally agree. I just think there's something really beautiful in this kid who had this really traumatic home life, but every day was just putting on these beautiful performances and just, I don't know. He was just he was so expressive and he was yes, he was brutalized and traumatized, but in a way he was also carefree and flowing and I love the image of Tupac spray painting on his jeans, painting his nails. And there's nothing sexual in this. There's nothing gay, straight. Everyone's like, oh, you're saying, I'm not saying he's gay. I'm not saying anything about sexuality. I'm saying he was a freaking butterfly. He was just a butterfly and he was flowing around and he loved performing. He loved standing on a stage in front of 200 people in the auditorium and performing, at TAM, he did a play about the life and death of Martin Luther King and playing MLK and standing in front of people and having them stand up and cheer. And this kid who was just beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, being seen and being appreciated and being loved. I love that age of his life before Digital Underground, before, touring on his own, before he became this icon. He was just this kid who really wanted to be seen. I love that part of his life.
I do too. That's a great point because it seemed like he was a little bit of a chameleon in what he gave people what they wanted out of him, especially later in life. So I like that.
Don't you think in a way we all do that? I'm actually being serious.
True. That's true.
If you think about it, if you actually think about it, okay, this is the example I always use. You go to a restaurant, you have a waiter. The waiter is deeply concerned whether you get the spaghetti or the rigatoni, and The waiter will tell you which is better. And, oh, that's a great choice. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Have a great evening. That same waiter goes home later on that night. He has 2 kids. One kid has chicken pox. A kid, or whatever. Kid won't stop crying, blah, blah, blah. Then he has to deal with his landlord. He hates his landlord. Like, we all have different roles we play. And people say that about Tupac. And I'm not saying it's not true, but I think it applies to me, probably applies to you, applies to the waiter, applies to the president. We all have that. We do. We all have that. Tupac, it's a very common thing to say. I'm not saying it's wrong. I do think we all have different roles we play depending on our situations and who surrounds us.
I think that's accurate. I felt like I just had so much empathy for him. But do you feel like if he had walked away, I guess the persona that he took on may have potentially gotten him killed, So do you feel like if he would have walked away from Suge and Death Row in 96 or whenever, do you feel like the story ends massively differently, or does he still kind of end up in a similar spot?
It's definitely impossible for me to say. I'll say that first. I mean, look, if he's in the MGM Grand and someone says, there's that guy who stole my medallion, and Tupac says, oh, you guys should go beat him up, instead of him being the one to go punch him, he's not dying that night. He was just impulsive, and he had a hair-trigger temper. And my wife used to work years ago. She ran a homeless shelter for young people, right? It was in New York City. An amazing, amazing place. It was Covenant House. It was an amazing place in New York City.
I've heard of that.
It was amazing. And my wife ran this, and these kids were all kids who came from pretty rough backgrounds. Meaning rough, not meaning they were bad kids, meaning like either, unstable, not going to school, bad, parents who are indifferent, drug abuse, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I loved these kids. Like I would go, and my wife and they were really kids who were very grateful. But the one thing a lot of these kids hated was any feeling of disrespect, right? Disrespect. It was a trigger, right? Because in a way, respect is the one thing they carried. Like they felt like respect is something I am controlling. When I think of Tupac at the MGM Grand that night, in a lot of ways, I think of the kids at Covenant House. Like I think he didn't yet have the impulse control to be like, kind of like a Covenant. If you stepped on one of those kids' shoe, you could have a fight, right? Because why are you disrespecting me? I didn't mean to disrespect you. Well, you're disrespecting me. And then I feel like Tupac did not have it in him to be like, wait a second. I'm one of the biggest hip hop artists in the world. I have a very bright future where I'm going to be able to take care of my family. I'm going to be able to do whatever I want. Movies, music, I'm as gifted as anyone out here. It would not be wise for me to walk up to this guy who's a member of the Compton Crips and punch him in the face. That would just not be a wise move. He didn't have that in him. And in a way, it made him great because his music is so freaking passionate and full of, in a way, impulsiveness and heat and energy. At the same time, you don't live very long having that sort of coping mechanism or lack of coping mechanism. There's my Freudian breakdown of.
I like it. Well, and also, that's sometimes that's something that can come with age. Again, he was like still mentally not an adult quite yet.
If you look back at your life, I look back at my life. I mean, we're probably in the same age bracket. Like 25 years old. Did you thought you knew what you were doing, right? You didn't know what you were doing. I didn't know what I was doing at 25. I was more than at 25. I just think you don't know at that age, but you think you know.
Right.
That's the craziest combination. You don't know, but you think you know. So you're impulsive and you're convinced that you're right. Then as you get older, you become less impulsive. And you also don't always think you're right because you realize you've made enough mistakes in life to know that you're not. There's plenty of blunder in you. But at 25, you think you know everything. You just do.
So what do you feel like a 54-year-old Tupac would be like?
So this is just a guess again, I want to say. So I live out here in Southern California. This has been my thing throughout this book. It is very hard for me to picture a 54-year-old Tupac watching ICE agents grab brown people off the streets and just being like, not my problem. I'm going to live in my mansion. And I had a long talk about this. I've mentioned this on one other show, I think, but with my son. Because I had this revelation recently in regards to that, where I was like, all right, like Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Tupac generational peers haven't said anything about the ICE raids. Like, I don't see them anywhere. And I'm not saying, I hate when people put it needs to be famous black people doing it and let white people off. I haven't seen Jeannie Buss or Steve Ballmer or Taylor Swift or Mandy Moore. I haven't seen anyone, right? But in this case, why are those guys not acting, and I was thinking like the difference between them and Tupac is they were storytellers who were brought up to use hip hop as a medium to tell stories. Fuck the Police is a storytelling mechanism about what it's like to deal with police, right? It Was a Good Day. Ice Cube talking about what his expectations were. Okay. Tupac was raised by a Black Panther. And the idea wasn't just, you're not just here to tell stories, you're here to do something. You're here to take action. You're here to stand up to the man. You're here to fight back. You're here to sort of resist and guide people so they learn to resist too. And I just think that's the difference. And that's why I have a very hard time imagining Tupac, 54, living in a mansion, maybe 2-time Academy Award winning Tupac Shakur, but watching this all happen and just being quiet about it. It is almost inconceivable to me. I may be wrong, but it's inconceivable to me.
You know, I hadn't really considered activism is in his blood and soul.
Very
So
much so.
I love that.
Yeah.
I would like to think that as well. And I'm glad that you pointed out 2-time Oscar not, because again, you guys, what was it, like 6 movies in
I would love to talk Tupac's movies.
I love Juice so much. Again, like I'm in junior high school, a white girl in Nebraska, and me and my friends like at a sleepover were like dying over Juice. So yeah, I mean, I think
How many of the movies have you seen? How many of Tupac's movies have you seen? I'll name them. You saw Juice? Did you see Poetic Justice?
Yep.
Did you see Gridlocked?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did you see Gang Related?
I get those two. I conflate those.
Gang Related is Jim Belushi. Gridlocked is Timothy Roth. In Gang Related, he's a detective. In Gridlocked, he's a heroin addict.
I think I've seen Gang Related, but not Gridlocked. And I did see Above the Rim.
Oh, yeah, Above the Rim and Bullet. Did you see Bullet?
I didn't see Bullet. No.
You're going to disagree with me. I'm going to make a controversial statement.
Okay.
I don't think Juice is a great movie, but I think Tupac is amazing in it. I think it's a good movie, and I think
That's
it's a
valid.
movie. But I wouldn't say it's a great.
No, it's just a nostalgia play. Like you know what I mean? You like movies because of the time that you watch them in. Yeah.
He's insane in it. He's so good at it.
Yes.
The other controversial take is, I'm just going to say it. I think Poetic Justice sucks. I think it's a bad movie.
If he weren't in it, I wouldn't have watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great. He's great in Poetic Justice.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie is not, I know people love it, but I don't know. I think if you watch it again, you'll be like, oh, maybe it's not as good.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, you talk about his acting chops. His talent was unmatched. And I think that's why he's kind of on a completely different level than a lot of other people.
He's a great actor. I mean, Jim Belushi said to me, he's like 1 or 2 movies away from Academy Award. I cannot argue with that. Again, if you watch a movie, it's worth watching Gridlocked. It's not a great movie, but he is so preposterously good in that movie. Alongside Timothy Roth, who's a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
Gang Related, it's not a great movie. Belushi's a really good actor. Tupac is awesome in that movie. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
I couldn't remember if I thought maybe it was Wood Harris. I remember reading that in your book. So it was Jim Belushi who mentioned that. Okay.
Wood Harris also was a big, he said Wood Harris was very honest about Tupac being a pain in the ass, but he also confirmed the guy was just full of talent and was an amazing storyteller. And the crossover from hip hop to acting isn't maybe as thick as people would think.
And in Creed, right? Wasn't he in Creed? Wood?
Yeah. Wood Harris has been in everything.
Yeah.
Wood Harris was Julius in Remember the Titans. Did you not see Remember the Titans?
Oh, he is, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
There was one person that you could not interview for this book. One Mr. Tupac Shakur.
Sure.
What would you like to ask him if you...
I guess I could talk to AI Tupac because he seems to be all over the internet, right? I was asked that once before. I mean, I really think we'll just assume he's back from the deceased or something. I'm really fascinated by like in that moment when he dies, like when you walk up to him and you punch him, like what is it in you in that moment that causes you to do that? Like I understand the Black Panther thing and everything, but like he was a smart guy. Like he was not dumb. He was impulsive, but he's not dumb. It's like, what is it in you that causes you to do that? Like of all the things, raise a Black Panther, raise with this understanding you're here to uplift Black men and women and help them overcome racism, blah, blah, blah. What is it about walking up to another Black man, punching him in a casino, and having that guy kill you? Like, it's my least favorite. I started this book being really mad about his death and thinking, well, maybe I'll change with the process. And 3 years after, I was like, no, I'm still really mad about his death. It sucks.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, with that though, this is an incredible book. Your style of storytelling is amazing. What do you want people to take away from reading this book?
Honestly, I really just want them to appreciate sort of what he went through to get where he was. I do think a lot of people just Tupac. All right, Tupac. I get around, hit him up, thug life across the chest, dated Madonna and whoever, Left Eye, whatever. I just think like the trauma behind it all, the story of his mother. Like I think of Phoenix Shakur as a movie, more than Tupac in a way.
I
Like
literally put that in my notes when I was
yes,
reading.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. She's a movie. She is. It's funny because working on promoting the book, I kept for a while. I would say it's shameful how white Americans don't know anything about Afeni Shakur, and I've amended that to say it's shameful how no Americans know about Afeni Shakur. They just know she was Tupac's mom and she was a Panther. No one knows the details. It's a crazy ass story. So for me, his upbringing, what he went through, what she went through, if people take that away, I'm content.
Perfect. I don't know if you're going to I don't know what kind of an answer I'll get, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Okay.
Who's the next artist that you'd risk your sanity to profile?
You're going to hate this answer. All right, I'm not going to do it, but I have it.
Okay.
There's a topic I've always wanted to do, and you're going to be like, what? There's a band called Blind Melon. You ever heard of Blind Melon?
The bee video.
No Rain, their big song.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
Rain.
yeah, yeah.
Their lead singer was a guy named Shannon Hoon, who died around the same time Tupac did, heroin overdose or cocaine overdose. They only had 3 albums. If you listen to Blind Melon's music, it's awesome, insane, deep, detailed texture. Now, the problem is nobody's buying a Blind Melon book, so I probably won't do it. I mean, literally nobody's buying a Blind Melon book. There's no sales potential in a Blind Melon book. Maybe if I was like Stephen King or Michael Lewis, but I'm not. So I don't know, but it won't be Blind Melon. Do you have any suggestions?
Oh, I'll get back to you on that one.
What do you think about a book about the Rocky movies? I'm actually being serious. Like the whole, I don't know if anyone buys it though, but the whole like,
I mean, people would buy it.
I don't know, would they?
Yeah. Well, actually, Sly has a book coming out. There's a movie coming out. It's a 50-year story, so there's something there.
Do you think it's disappointing? So you like Rocky movies? Yes.
Yes.
Like not just Rocky.
I like the whole the character Rocky is kind of a perfect human. Sly is not.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what bothers me. I'm gonna be blunt. My wife and I recently saw they brought back Rocky 4 with a director's cut.
And
we just saw it in the theater and whatever. And the whole narrative of that movie, Rocky 4, you've seen Rocky 4.
Oh, it's my favorite of them.
Oh,
it's not the best, but it's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's also. So, you have Ivan Drago and he's taking steroids and here's Rocky all natural. I'll die on this hill. Sylvester Stallone is so roided up in that movie. It's ridiculous. He is veins atop veins, muscles where people that age don't have muscles. And then when you see he did the one with where he came back, Rocky Balboa, the movie Rocky Balboa, where he's like 60 and he's like all muscle. Something about that.
Hormone.
Yeah, it just kind of bothers me. There's something about that irks the hell out of me. So I don't know.
I think I wholeheartedly I'm on this train with you. I literally am a co-host on a podcast covering the Rocky series. So
really,
yeah, I'm a big nerd.
All right, can we do this real quick?
Yeah.
Give me an order. You've seen the Creed movies too?
Uh-huh.
All right, I'm making this hard for you. Rank in order, worst to best, all the Rocky movies.
Okay, worst to best.
I know you're going to say worst because
it's tied for me. Wait, it changes. So Rocky 5 technically is the worst.
It's not good. Nobody wants brain dead Rocky. That's a problem.
I need to rewatch. So I loved, what's his name? Jonathan Majors in Creed 3, but I didn't love Creed 3.
Sure.
So they're kind of at the bottom.
Oh,
then Rocky Balboa, then Creed.
Oh,
if I know, because I like Creed 2 so much more.
What? Creed 2 is my least favorite Creed.
I know it is for a lot of people. I have a soft spot for Dolph Lundgren.
Okay.
So it's hard for me to do in reverse order.
If you want to go best to worst, go ahead.
Yeah, but Rocky 4, Rocky 2,
wow,
Rocky 3,
yeah,
Creed 2. What am I missing? Rocky Balboa, Creed 3,
and Rocky 5.
Yeah, Rocky Five. Yeah, yeah.
Best villain to me is Mr. T, to be honest with you. I do love Mr. T as a
I mean, that was. I mean, that's such '80s. Drago is.
hero.
I really do have a thing for Dolph Lundgren, but yeah,
Like Hubba Hubba, or just like you're a fan?
yeah. But also he's sort of like who I, in reality, like in real life, like he's sort of more like what I like about the Rocky character. Like he's very smart.
Mhm.
He's into therapy, so he's like pretty open minded. But he seems like a genuinely good human being. So that's
Dolph Lundgren.
partially, yeah.
The rebooted Rocky 4 sucks. It's terrible, but there are a few moments that you didn't see it, right?
Yeah, I've saw we covered it on the show. Like
Oh,
the
did you
difference
like
is
it?
the difference is what we wanted is because there were some scenes that were added that weren't
Yeah.
in the theatrical version, and we were like, we kind of want a mashup of the two.
Oh, I see.
Hmm.
I didn't like it. It was fun though. The one thing I liked though that I thought it did a little bit is it did show Drago a little more as almost like this puppet who is just
Yeah.
not actually a bad guy, just being used.
For
And
sure.
he wasn't quite as villainous. The one thing about the one that I found really funny, my biggest criticism of Rocky 4 has always been, and this is as a sports fighter, you're not going to spar one round before this fight. Like you're literally not going to spar.
We
And there's
talked
a
about it
moment-
on the show.
Yeah, well, there's a moment in the new
Yeah.
one where he goes, no sparring partners. And then they kind of just dismissed it aside. Now, the problem is you didn't have a boxing ring there. So not having having a sparring partner wouldn't matter because where are you going to spar? But it is funny how he doesn't spar in Rocky 4. It doesn't make
Mhm.
sense.
We don't need him anymore.
Yeah, we don't need
You know,
we don't need him anymore.
We don't need him anymore. Oh God, I
Yeah,
could just.
art.
I mean, yeah. So I'm all. You should really write a Rocky book. Yeah.
It's never going to happen. I don't think enough people care, to be honest with you. I know you
I don't
do.
know, 50 years, 50 years. I mean, it's one, what other character has been around that long? But I do welcome any new book from you.
I appreciate that.
In reading your book, I did learn a ton, not only about Tupac and his family and upbringing, his rise to fame, but also about the cast of characters sprinkled throughout his life that we hear about in his lyrics that we didn't know, what was behind those before. So I cannot recommend this book enough, listeners. Jeff, thank you so much for writing this book and sharing your insights with me and the listeners of Retromade. Where should people go to grab Only God Can Judge Me or to follow what you might be cooking up next?
So my main medium these days is TikTok. Jeff
Okay.
Ferrell, strangely. I have a YouTube series called The Pressbox Chronicles that comes out every week. And you can get the book wherever you buy books, or I'm going to be the rare author who says this. I love public libraries. So if you feel like you just want to take it out from the library, no skin off my back. Do whatever is best for you. Support your local libraries.
I'm a big fan of the local library as well. And you guys, I'll have his links in the show notes as well. But with that, until next time, rewind, be kind.